What creepy movie or story traumatized you as a child? This was from Mona the Vampire. If you've seen the show, you know there are 3 strange dream scenes the characters share that are usually creepy and supernatural. It's really difficult to explain because I don't think it was clear on what they are. Anyway, in this episode there was a super creepy bunny that would steal people energy or something that was called the Billabong Bunyip. Which I know sounds ridiculous. In this episode's dream scene, the gang was in this museum and the Bunyip poked through the front door. It's a muddy brown monster and sort of flopped when it jumped. The characters jumped into a fountain to hide, and the Bunyip left the room. That was the end of the dream scene, and even though it was a really short scene, it was so frightening to me. I even rewatched it not that long ago, and I barely got through it. It gave me the worst goosebumps I've ever had. Never gonna get over it. Show us your fangs. Hey Mona, show us your fangs. Oh wow, that's one of the best theme songs I've ever heard. Bridge to Terabithia. It's basically Christian propaganda. It was advertised as a film about 2 best friends in an imaginary world, but it focused more on Christian belief and the non-Christian friend just died off screen. The scene where she falls and hits her head and drowns made me so depressed as a kid. Like wow, that happened. And no one was there to save her. She died. I was a very dramatic kid. Yeah, this did the same for me. Probably my first moment where I truly realized how mortal we really are. Kinda messed me up as a kid. I don't remember the death scene. Wait, what? Bridge to Terabithia is criticized by Christians for making Christianity look bad or frivolous. I never got the feeling it was Christian propaganda at all. Not what the question was asking, but I'll tell my story anyways. Both of my parents are medical professionals, and we would get a bunch of those medical journals in the mail every week. Stuff like JAMA, New England Journal of Medicine, American Journal of Medicine, etc. Now, in these journals, they had gruesome pictures of the latest bacterial-resistant infections and surgeries and all things gross and disgusting that nobody aside from a select few medical professionals want to see. Think I had to hurt but worse. Guess what I got to see as a child when I was disobeying? That's right. Someone with their leg cut open. I now am rather nonchalant about seeing really gruesome stuff, to what can be my own detriment. When I was about 6 or 7 and used to go visit my dad, he would literally let me and my brother watch anything. Scary Movie 1 was absolutely traumatizing. When I first saw it, I was too young to get the humor, and all my developing mind saw was a scary serial killer. I had nightmares for almost a year, one of which involved Ghostface popping out from behind the head of my bed. For over a year after that, I slept halfway down my twin-sized bed, my legs dangling off the end, because the dream scared me so much. Interestingly enough, Halloween age 20 didn't impact me at all, probably because I was too bored to really pay attention. The Time Machine. The Moon freaked me out 4 years after, even long after I forgot about the movie itself. I didn't stop being paranoid about the moon crashing or shattering until my mid-late teens. Even now I'm a little unnerved if it ever seems unnaturally large due to atmospheric conditions. I saw the movie when I was really young and developing. It and The Labyrinth, but Labyrinth just gave me an interest in fantasy and hypnotic packages. Oh, I also saw The Ring or something, and was scared of static and reflective surfaces in dark rooms. That I'm still not entirely over, similar to the moon thing. Herobrine. One day, I was looking at Herobrine stuff online for some reason and I came across this one fan art of photorealistic Herobrine standing in front of a door. Mind you, my bed was at the opposite side of the room from the door. So whenever I looked up from my bed, I always thought I was going to see him standing there. Also, when I was about 8, I was left alone in the living room with music on the TV, with the music video too. Saw this one music video where a duck literally jumped through this guy's chest and left a hole in it. I was 8. The first Chucky, I was about 5 or 6. My father forced me to watch it with him and his girlfriend. After we watched it, I dreamt of Chucky continuously. Could swear I saw him lurking in the shadows. I was scared to shower. Anything by myself was horrifying for years, to the point where now as a 21-year-old I'm petrified of dolls. Antique dolls, Barbie dolls, Raggedy Ann dolls, any kind. Unsolved Mysteries on Lifetime. When I was maybe like 8, I watched an episode where this lady got murdered in broad daylight with a hammer to the skull. I don't know why, but I was illogically afraid of the dark after that. I would not enter a dark room alone for any reason for months afterwards. I slept with the lights on and a blanket over my head. The only bathroom in the house was in the usually dark upstairs. Yeah. Fun times. The Exorcist, the old movie, not the one from 2010 or so. But not the movie, just the face of the girl. Like a lot of people, I've seen some screamers on internet, and this face just traumatized me during my childhood. Saw the old movie way back when. Still traumatized. My parents slept with the light on for 3 weeks after watching that movie shortly after they had my older sister. I remember watching TV when I was really young. I think I was supposed to be asleep because it was very late, and I'm 100% certain I was not supposed to be watching it or even that channel. It probably wasn't the news, but somehow I thought it was. All I remember about it was a girl slowly dying from having her wrists and ankles slashed. That's all I remember, and it was horrible. It was a show, some episode of Goosebumps, or Are You Afraid of the Dark? There is something invisible in a school or public pool that keeps attacking people and pulling them under the water. It also may have moved through the pipes, although I may have combined some things in my terrified mind. I still don't like to be in the water by myself, even if there are other people nearby. Fire in the Sky. I watched it with my older brother and his friends. They all laughed at the movie. I spent the next few years terrified that I was going to be abducted. I turned into a little paranormal researcher just to learn if aliens are real or not, to ease my mind. I even went so far as ordering books on stuff like Project Blue Book, back before the internet was widespread. Many of you are probably too young to remember the Children's Television Workshop, which was the producer of Sesame Street, before it became the Sesame Workshop. In the old days, there would be station and producer CRS at the tail end of the Sesame Street CRS, and they'd play this song, Funky Chimes. I don't know why, but as a very young kid this song made me feel deeply uneasy. Without my parents knowing, I sneaked onto Freddy vs Jason and saw a part where Jason folds up a bed and then stabs the dude in the bed. I also hated The Legend of Boggy Creek. My parents say, when I first saw it, I got scared, ran to the hallway, and shouted, "This movie is not for kids." I was weird. I now love The Legend of Boggy Creek. The Brady Bunch, but hear me out. Either all that or the Amanda Show on Nickelodeon had a segment where TV stars go bad or something, and it was fake stars of shows. The shows were based on actual ones. And there was one where the kids on the fake Brady Bunch went crazy. All I remember is having a nightmare after watching that and not wanting to watch Brady Bunch anymore. The Nutcracker Prince. Watched it every year in elementary school music class, sometimes twice, as a Christmas treat. I just braced myself and wished we could have class instead. The rats were scary. The Nutcracker, despite being the hero, was animated in a way that I found disturbing. The evil uncle, everything. It was a short on MTV around Halloween. It was done in stop motion animation. A little boy is afraid to go to sleep and his mother leaves him alone. A bird-like man then comes into his window and jumps around him and steals the boy's eyes. I had to sleep in my sister's bed with her for like a week after that one. Is this the one? Coraline. The whole family was watching it for Halloween, and when it came to the part where the other mother was trying to convince Coraline to sew buttons into her eyes, I noped out of the room. So glad I didn't get to watch the part where the other mother turns into a giant spider-human hybrid that could haunt a child forever. I don't know what book it's from, but back in elementary school we had a sub who read this story from a book to us about this little girl who got a pimple that grew bigger and bigger over time and hurt more and more until one day it burst and lots of baby spiders all crawled out. Scarred me for life, that did. Pan's Labyrinth. I happened to walk in on the scene with the pale man and was dumb enough to keep watching. I may be mistaken, but the pale man you mentioned may have been featured in the Tool music video 446 and 2. I'll link it here. OHH, you're right, didn't know that. My mum read me a story about Pompeii. When I was young, I live in Auckland, a city pretty much made of extinct volcanoes, and we live on the slopes of one, so had a few nightmares, but I'll always remember the dog in the story really destroyed me. Can't remember much now, just volcano and a dog. Not a movie, but a TV show, Tales from the Crypt. Specifically the episode where a woman seeking beauty is cursed to always see her reflection as this disgusting fish monster. I was always scared she'd be hiding under my bed. Ironically, I now love that show and watch late into the night. The Grudge. Never even saw a girl at this daycare center I went to as a kid told me about it. My entire childhood I spent afraid of women with hair in their face like that. Saw The Ring when I was around 18. Definitely scary, not near as bad as I thought. I still refuse to watch The Grudge. Beyond belief, fact or fiction. The one where some kid drowns himself and then drowns other people in the pool in the process. Then someone find out and pour something into a water and the entity turns red. Was watching this one when I was 8 years old and could not sleep 4 years later. If anyone's ever seen that show that's called like Mrs. Sunshine's whatever, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's that show with those CGI insects, and they have this orange ladybug teacher, but there's also this giant white spider who is basically James Charles. That whole show was whack. My dad told me about a doctor who got his lab coat stuck in an elevator door and its sensors weren't working properly, and his head ended up getting ripped off. I don't know if the story was even real, but I was terrified, and to this day usually use the stairs instead if possible. When I was 45 years old, I walked into a room while my uncles were watching Nightmare on Elm Street. I'm 32 years old now, and Krueger still freaks me out. I remember going through the horror section of a wax museum and getting horrified at the Freddy Krueger exhibit. The empty child episode of Doctor Who made me terrified of the carpet when I was a little kid. No clue why, but when we'd eat in the living room I wouldn't touch the floor unless I was leaving to the kitchen. Then I'd run straight across and touch as little carpet as possible. The governors made me so uncomfortable, lol. Was it when Andy sexually assaults poor Samwise? I never got that far honestly. The whole thing was cringe to me, so I'd never watch it, lol. Did not ever register this being the same person.